All right, everyone, welcome again to the first annual HR Maximizer Healthcare Conference. This is, of course, presented by Ascend HR Core. We're going to get started right now with the president of Ascend HR Core, Rollis Fontenot.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. We've done a lot of data gathering. We've done a lot of analysis, and we've come to some conclusions that hopefully will help you in your practice, in your hospital, your organization. We've heard this, do more with less. That's kind of a recurring thing. And so more and more pressure is being put on all of us, whether you're an executive that's trying to meet certain goals, budgets, staffing levels in the future, or if you're a frontline HR personnel who's receiving these recs coming in. This has kind of been a recurring theme, do more with less. So we're going to try and give you some ideas. I wanted to touch on a few points that maybe you may or may not have thought about in regards to clinical staff. And of course, as you know, this whole conference will be focusing on clinical staff. How do we grow? How do we engage and retain clinical staff? So one of the things that's kind of alarming, I don't know if you looked at this before, but about every 2 years, a third of your RNs will leave. Now, it's possible that they may get promoted into a different area of the hospital where they're not doing bedside. That's possible. They may end up going to perhaps another portion of your system. Maybe they're going from the acute care side over to home health or outpatient or something of that nature. But in a lot of cases, we're finding just straight turnover where they actually leave your organization is about a third of your staff every 2 years. And that's running at a 16.9% turnover run rate. So if your turnover rate's higher than that, then that's going to be worse. It's going to be worse. Obviously, if it's better, it's going to be a little bit better than that. That's kind of an average. When you're in more rural areas, the numbers go up higher. The averages are more around 20-21%. And then, of course, there's some more challenging places that are in urban areas, but those are kind of some national things. There's over 500,000 nurses that will change jobs this year. So the good news, even though you are going to have roughly a third of your staff leave, there's about 500,000 nurses that will be changing jobs. So there is a good chance you'll be able to catch some of those nurses. And that's using just the numbers, data that's easily available on the internet. That's taking the 16.9% turnover times the roughly 3 million licensed nurses in the U.S. And then 262,000 nurse jobs are available right now on Indeed. So those numbers are pretty consistent. They kind of ramp up usually more towards the beginning of the year, but those have been kind of consistent as you check. So and the reason why I picked Indeed is that Indeed is an aggregator. So they pretty much pull all of the jobs from all the ATSs that are out there. And so that's probably the best source to pull jobs. You can also do a similar search on Google Jobs. The problem with Google Jobs is that you'll see the same jobs that are repeated over and over again because they will take it from staffing agencies as well as the organizations themselves, whereas Indeed has a little bit tighter lock on that. So that's why we pulled it from Indeed. If you have any type of growth, maybe you're thinking about hiring another 5-10% of nurses or physicians. I'm just speaking about nurses right now. But basically, your job is going to entail 27 to 32% is what you're going to need to recruit each year if you're taking into consideration growth in addition to attrition. So that makes the job even more difficult. So not only do you have to fill those jobs that are going to be coming up open because of attrition, you're also having to work on the growth. Has anyone felt that kind of pressure where you're dealing with growth and attrition at the same time? Okay, yeah. So it's a real issue. So it makes it tough. There are about 10 to 15% more providers that are needed. If you look at the amount of providers that are out there, I've seen varying numbers, but I think if we rounded it off, it's probably just under 1 million docs that are out there. And then if you look at the amount of nurse practitioners, you add another 250,000. And if you take the amount that are needed, like even if I took 169,000 DDO jobs, that's going to put me at about 10 to 15% that's needed right now, based on the recs that are out there from the ATSs that are out there. And when I say ATS, I'm just talking about applicant tracking systems. Most people use most organizations are going to use systems like iCIMS. We use Jazz. You've got Taleo, all those. Indeed, what they'll do is they'll just automatically pull all those recs as you post those recs on your system. they will pull them all into their system. So that's how I'm easily able to tell roughly how many jobs are out there in any given category.